We're staying on top of the breaking news on CNN. Attorney General Pam Bondi fired by President Trump. We have a panel of experts here to discuss. Evan, first to you. Todd Blanche is taking over as acting Attorney General, someone who has relatively not delved into politics until fairly recently, including an appearance at CPAC. Let's watch this soundbite.
There is not a single man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions.
How many have been canned?
Over 200. Over 200 either left before we came in because they knew it was coming or were fired or took early retirement. They are no longer employed by this department.
To be clear, those are now former DOJ employees who worked on prosecutions of President Trump after he left the White House. It seems like Todd Blanche, having been President Trump's former personal attorney, would be game to pursue some of the ambitious prosecutions of his political adversaries.
Well, let me just first point out how astonishing it is for the second in command at the Justice Department, the person who runs the department day to day, to be boasting at a political event, a political convention, about ousting people who simply were doing their jobs. Right? These are people, agents, FBI agents, these are prosecutors who were doing their jobs. They were carrying out court orders that were issued by judges. There is absolutely nothing I've ever heard from a political leader at the Justice Department that really rivals something like this. Because and by the way, the other thing that's going to happen is that every single person that's suing the department and the government over their firings now has that soundbite to use in their lawsuits. But I'll say this on Blanche's tenure. If I were him, I would not be too comfortable in how long I'm going to be around, because the same dissatisfaction that the president has with Pam Bondi's job performance, really also applies to Todd Blanche, because he is the person who runs the department day to day. A lot of the grumbling behind the scenes about the performance of the department in carrying out the president's retribution agenda has also been about Todd Blanche, because people say inside, they say that that's where things go to die, that things have been moving very slowly, that he has not been willing to move things quickly enough. Now, in Todd Blanche's defense, I would say that he understands the reality of how things work, right? That you can't just go indict people. You need to try to have evidence. You need to figure out where you can best bring cases. And then there's some evidence that's just not there, right? And so,
do you think the personal relationship that President Trump has with Blanche, because of all that bonding time in the cases when he served as his personal attorney, I think that has helped save him so far, right, from some of the anger of the president. But I think in the end, I think the president is very unhappy with how the department has done what he wants them to do, and some of that is Todd Blanche's, or at least some of the blame goes to Todd Blanche as well. And so we don't know how long he'll last after this, depending on who the president appoints.
Todd Blanche has put a statement out on X saying that Pam Bondi led this department with strength and conviction, and I'm grateful for her leadership and friendship. He goes on to say, thank you to President Trump for the trust and the opportunity to serve as acting Attorney General. We will continue backing the blue, enforcing the law, and doing everything in our power to keep America safe.